And hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast, the only video game show. So today we're taking a look at one of the games that was showcased in the very most recent of the Completionists Indie Land of the year 2021. We're gonna be chatting about Berserk Boy with Zoo today.
Yay. Hey, yeah.
Okay, so how about we start with you telling the audience just a bit about yourself?
Sure thing. Like you said, I'm Zoo and I'm working on Berserk Boy. I'm the lead developer and the main pixel artist and animator. Berserk Boy's been in development for 2 and a bit years and is due to launch in Q4 of 2022. We're going to be coming out on all major platforms. So yeah, that's
Okay.
that's me. Yeah.
When would you say you first discovered video games?
Um. I have like a older brother and dad who's really into video games. I literally straight out the womb, they were playing like Mega Drive and Sonic. So as far as back as I remember, maybe like memory starts like four. So like 4 years old, I was 3 years old. I was playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Mega Drive and stuff like that, progression to the Game Boy and earliest memories of video games.
Okay, and what would you say is your favorite game or games growing up?
Oh, difficult question. Uh, all right. Favorite game growing up would have to be Dreamcast, Sonic Adventure 2, or Jet Set Radio. The
Okay. Oh, sorry.
strongest memories with those two, weirdly enough.
Uh, yeah, and what would you say is your favorite game and or games now?
Ooh. Um. Now I'm playing I play some of the AAA games, but you know how it is. It's just like they come and go, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
play a lot of indie as well. A favorite game? These questions are tough. Um, I'm gonna say Mega Man Zero Two.
Okay.
I replay that like once a year, so I'm gonna stick with it and just say Mega Man Zero Two. I play a lot of AAA games too, but I can't think of any on the spot. I guess none of them are standing out. A lot of indies too. I mean, I'm playing Eastwood at the moment. That's pretty good, but it's very recent. Yeah, let's stick with Mega Man Zero.
Okay. So, if we weren't currently if a pandemic wasn't currently happening literally right now as we're saying these words, and things like video game conventions were at all possible and reasonable,
Hmm.
and you had like a booth at like at PAX, at like the indie mega booth or the indie mini booth or both,
Hmm.
like, and someone was to walk by your booth, like what would be your elevator pitch to get them, like, to draw them in right
Draw
then
them
and
in.
there?
Yes, I'd say so. Firstly, I'm assuming they're looking at Berserk Boy, right? Yeah, so I'd say, hey, if you're a fan of high-speed pixel art platforming games, uh, modernized but with a retro feel. If you're a fan of making high scores and getting high ranks and time attacks in like speedrunning, then this game's for you. It's all about rhythm and style, with a massive love for pixel art and a huge respect for the genre greats. So if that's your thing, check out Berserk Boy.
Okay, and let's see, where where did the hold on, like, what would be like like the quick summary of how the game would play that you'd give to like any potential players and
Got yeah.
buyers.
So on the surface, the game really looks like it plays like a Mega Man game.
Mm-hmm.
While it's heavily inspired by Mega Man, it more plays like a Rocket Knight or a Luminous Avenger Gunvolt sort of vibe because it's
Mm-hmm.
all like kinetic based action. There's no projectiles, or it's not it's not like a precision platformer. It's a lot of like, you're bashing into things. It's a lot faster. So I wouldn't say Sonic, that is one of my inspirations. I'd say more Rocket Knight, Pulse Man, Luminous Avenger in
Okay.
terms of playstyle.
And would you say that those games were the inspiration for like the premise and like the gameplay and the aesthetic came from, or does this have like any, or did like everything behind this? Is there any other inspirations that helped like bring about the game to what it's going to be once it's released?
No, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So I'm sure you can tell I'm a huge Mega Man fan as
Mm-hmm.
well, right? So Mega Man ZX on the. I guess I should have said that for one of my favorite games as well. Mega Man ZX and Zero were like the
Mm-hmm.
main like the original veins. Like I just love integrate games. So it was like, hey, uh, I want to make a game that sort of like is polished up to that standard. So I was always sort of thinking of the Game Boy Advance era, DS era games. So I'd say, yeah, the Zero series and ZX are like the main source of reference. But it's strange because, uh, yeah, people will think it's like a plays like it as well. But yeah, it doesn't actually play like it. It's just like I just love that sort of aesthetic, the robots and the cyber sort of world and stuff like that. Really cool. So yeah, I'd say the Mega Man series for the DS and GBA.
Okay. And and yeah, and like when development on this game initially started, was it like always intended, as you said, to like make it Mega Man Rocket Knight ish, or was that something that like came along like as you were working on it that you felt it would
Oh,
like that type of gameplay would fit what you're going for?
awesome question. Yeah. So originally, it had nothing to do with dashing into things.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was. Have you played Katana? The only way I can describe this to people is, have you played Katana Zero or know of Katana Zero? It's quite high speed, but it's quite precise platforming. So like if you get one hit, you die.
Oh yeah, I
Originally,
have
this
played
was
it. I
yeah.
completely forgot
So
the name.
yeah, it's basically that. Yeah. So it's basically you play as K and you're scaling a building, and each level in the building is like a different scenario you have to tackle and switch form accordingly. And it was very sort of like quick, like boom, 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 upstairs. You get hit, you go back down. You know what I mean? So it
Mm-hmm.
was like Super Katana Zero. But then the more I played it, naturally I was just like drawn to like the Mega Drive platformers, the GBA platformers. It sort of took a turn in development, half a year in, a year in. And we're like, hey, how about we just give them more life? Oh, it feels more fun now. Hey, how about we make it so you can touch the enemies? In fact, let's make it so you can just bash into them. So yeah, it just progressed. So what felt more fun just ended up becoming the main thing.
Okay, and like you said, like you're aiming for like the last chunk of 2022 for this game to be like fully released. Once it's released, like how long like what total amount of time will it have taken for you to go from like basic ideas to like
Hmm.
fully developed product?
Yeah, I think it'll be a 3 year dev cycle. Um, n- Not including like the like concepting, because I went through like tons of other ideas that were Berserk Boy that kind of align with this dev cycle. But I'd say 3 years to be like to give a number. 3 years. I couldn't tell you how long it's been working on like this quote unquote project, but it became Berserk Boy uh 3 years ago. Well, 2 years ago, and by the time it comes out, it'll be 3 years.
Okay, and like as you've been working on it, has there been a part of the development that you feel like has either given you the most trouble or just, something you feel like you've had to put a lot of elbow grease into just to make sure it'll be ready when it's time for full release?
Debbie, believe it or not, it's the time zone. So, just
Yeah.
like this call, right? Yeah. So like, um, so there's 5 other people now working on Berserk Boy. Originally, it was just me, so
Mm-hmm.
it was super smooth. And then obviously, the more people you get on board, you have to like collaborate with each other's time zones. So it's like it's quite difficult to like. Obviously, they start working at a different time, and if you're needed, it's like, hey, what do you think of this? It's hard to like uh, get a flow going. But after a while, it's sort of like you get used to like staying up to like 4 a.m. waiting for a response, and then they have to wake up earlier to reply to you. It's just like time zone tag. But getting used to that was really difficult at the start. But now it's like clockwork. We just know when we're up and stuff like that.
Okay. And I'm looking at the Steam page right now, and I see like the screenshots of Kay, the main character, and like, did his design come from anything specific, or was it just
So
person with
when
giant hair?
Yeah, so when I was designing K, I was really into My Hero Academia, uh, like
Now I get it.
really into it. And if you look, like people always say to me, like, "Oh, his suit is Mega Man inspired." But if you look at his suit, it's super inspired by My Hero Academia. Uh,
I mean, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the logo right now, and like his gauntlets when he's all black haired, they do kind of look like the stuff that like
that Deku
the
wore,
arm
right? Yeah,
braces that Deku wears.
and like when his eyes glow up and stuff, like I just loved it. I just loved his like uh from being like weak to powerful. So that was like something I really, really like. I think I latched onto at the time, and then subconsciously I just like kept making that. So I'd say that's a huge part of it. Uh, I was a big fan of obviously I've said Sonic as well. I wanted to
Hmm.
make like the hair is Sonic esque, right? And obviously I'm a huge fan of like Dragon Ball Z and other anime. So it was just like creating an anime character that I really liked. So it was just like bits and bobs of like all the media I appreciate that went into K.
Okay. Uh, yeah, and just for clarification, I'm not a game dev. I have never worked on a video game in any way because I wouldn't know where to start. But um, like, have you ever felt like, especially with like this type of game? I mean, like it's side scrolly. Um, uh, it's pixely. It's as you say, like I'm looking at like some of the UI, and it's like, as you said, vaguely reminiscent of like the type of setup you get from like a Mega Man game. Is there has there been any like as you've like added people to your, has any member of your team or just like any person who's like an outsider looking in on this, has there been any misconceptions about how easy or not easy it is to like make a game like this?
Yeah, that I'd say 100%. I mean, you said you don't work in games. I'm sure you play like these types of games, right? Like
Yes.
the yeah. So they might. So people assume platforms, especially, are like super uh smooth and easy to make, right? Because obviously it's like most of them just run left to right, and it's just a nice smooth progression. But me too, in a sense. I before this game, I only used to prototype and do like jams, but
Mm-hmm.
when you make a full scale project, it's just a different beast. There's just like you add one thing and then there's an issue somewhere else. So it's just like a never ending battle to add content and make sure things are, you know, cleaned up on the back end as well. And then obviously it's all the asset creation, which takes so much time. Um, yeah, I'd just say it's just very time consuming, in terms of like how hard it is to make. It's literally what you put in. Like if you want to make a simple game, you can make a simple game. If you want to make a more complex game, obviously you're going to be putting in more time. But it's just having you know, it, regardless, it's not going to come quick. Like it's just not going to come quick to make a game. That's literally what I tell everyone. Like, oh, Zoo, when's Berserk Boy coming out? It should be ready now, right? And I'm just like, oh, mate, it takes time. It just takes time. That's literally it. It just takes time.
Okay.
Is my only response in terms of making games.
And like the opposite of that, has there been any like part of the game? Has there been any part of the game's development that's been like smooth from day one that like you've been surprised by, considering that sometimes
Ooh.
making a game can be just a whole ordeal
Hurdle
sometimes.
after hurdle. Yeah. Um, I think. Ooh, very smooth. I was very close to saying the artwork then, but then I just remembered I've redesigned the main character like 3 times and then reanimated, and so that wasn't very smooth. Uh, Smooth. I'd say the I'd say an element of game design in Berserk Boy has been the consistency of everyone else on the team, which has been a massive blessing for the project. Everyone always uh, tries hard, shows up, does their best, regardless of like. I mean, you said earlier we're in a pandemic right now, so it's super easy to feel discouraged. But everyone's just like, "Hey, let's do this," and yeah, it's really motivating. I guess that's the only thing that goes smooth. Besides that, yeah, everything is like trial and error, and just it's just game dev.
Okay, and you've also said that once it's out, it'll be like out on like all major consoles and platforms and all that. Has there been is there a particular platform that I know you want to release on all of them just because reach as wide an audience as possible? But is there any platform that you're like especially excited that specific like group of gamers is gonna get to play it?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, you, I'm sure Nintendo Switch is an indie powerhouse at the
Mm-hmm.
moment, and I hope it stays that way. So, and plus, I love playing on my Switch. So having Berserk Boy on that is just going to be. Yeah, I'm super excited. I've never had a project I've worked on make it to consoles, so this will be my first one. So I'm super pumped, especially for the Switch. I mean, Xbox, PlayStation, yeah, but Switch is just something else, I think.
Okay. And now we can move on to the final question of the interview, which all people who've been on the show previously have always understood perfectly.
Hmm.
Zoo, in your opinion, is video games?
His video games. That's the question.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, you heard it here. And with that, we can start wrapping up this particular episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast. I would like to thank Zoo of Berserk of hold on of Berserk Boy, for joining me and talking to me about the game that, come the end of 2022, which is dangerously close to actually happening, which is just horrifying to think about, you'll be able to get your
So
hands on
true.
it on your platform of choice. And yeah, so Zoo, like, where can, if anyone wants to like keep up to date with this particular game, where can they do that?
Ah, cheers for having me as well. By the way, it's been a lot of fun, and it's keep up with Berserk Boy. I'm on Twitter at Berserk Boy Game, and the Steam page. Please wishlist Berserk Boy, and also give the demo a go. It's currently live. Um, yeah, we're on Steam. Our page is active. So Berserk Boy Game on Twitter and Berserk Boy on Steam.
Okay.
And join the Discord. Sorry.
Yep. And if any of you have, been taking advantage of the fact that, the Indie Land team uh, of the charity of the same name have, just been taking all the games of this year and putting them on, you can find Berserk Boy right up at the very top of the page under games featured at Indieland 2021 opening ceremonies. And yeah, if you like Rocket Knight, Mega Man X, Mega Man ZX, which I can actually play since it's on the Switch and therefore inaccessible.
Hey, great game.
And yeah, if that's a game that sounds up your alley, like he said, go to Steam and check out the demo. And yeah, just keep your ears to the ground at the tail end of 2022. And yeah, if any of you have enjoyed me saying these words and you want to hear more of them, you can subscribe. You can hit the little bell icon, which will give you notifications because everyone loves extra steps. And yeah, and if you want to follow me on the Twitters, you can either look for at tgorman83 or Big Debbie, a name which is basically a one-off cartoon reference that has taken on a life of its own, but that's a story for another day. And yeah, for some reason, if any of you wanna, if you have any money left over after you've put some aside for Berserk Boy's eventual release, and you want to give me some of that money, you can go to patreon.com/the Pumpkin Coptercast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can submit interviews for me to. You can submit questions for me to use in future interviews when I remember to post it and message my patrons. I'm good at this, I swear. And yeah, this has been the Pumpkin Copter Cast, and as recurring guest of the show, Ashley Jenkins has basically compelled me to say at the end of every episode, have a gourd day, everyone.